You're gonna tell us about your rocking horse, and then you're gonna tell us about your cowboy hat you got for Christmas.
Okay. I I always wanted to be a cowboy. I loved the cowboy stuff, and when I was a little girl, we had a little book about a kid that rode the train from the east to the west, and he was going to go out to a ranch where they were going to do a cattle roundup. And I said to my mom, "Oh, I wished I lived in the west. I wished I lived out west." And she said, "You do?" I said, "I do?" She said, "Yeah, you live out west." So I'm sure glad to hear that. Somehow it didn't seem quite as romantic as the book did, but anyway. Um, so I had been to a fair or something, I guess, and where they had merry-go-round, and those horses on the merry-go-round were so fancy and pretty and stuff. And then one Christmas, we went to see my cousin D. Winterton. He lived in Woodland, and for Christmas he had gotten a rocking horse, and it was as gorgeous as the merry-go-round horses. It was black, and it had black leather saddle and bridle with silver spots on it, and fancy and good. Oh, it was so pretty. And in my heart, I said, well, I could never own a pretty horse like that because we're too poor. We're not rich like Winterton's. But Santa Claus brought this horse to Dee, so maybe Santa Claus could bring me a rocking horse like this. So next year, I asked for a rocking horse. And I got up Christmas morning, and we waited and all went together into the living room where Santa Claus had come. And there, behind the stove, was a rocking horse made out of a 4x4 board with rockers just cut out of an inch board that was just kind of like a crescent, and its head was a brown. It had been painted on like the features of a horse. It was just an inch thick board, and I saw that, and my heart just sunk. But Tim, even then, I knew better. Now, I would have been probably 5 years old, and I knew better than to whine and boob and bellyache. I knew that was not acceptable in our family. But my heart sunk. And not only that, the thing had wet paint, and I couldn't even ride. The paint was wet. Anyway, after I got over my disappointment and the paint dried, why, I did ride it, and oh, I rode that rocking horse. I rode it and rode it and rode it and played cowboy, and uh, I had a cap gun, and Ken had outgrown some little shaps that were made with sheepskin, and I'd ride that horse and click my cap gun and yell "Buck and Ribald" and pretend I was a cowboy, and I did have a lot of fun with that horse. But it did begin to erode my belief in Santa Claus.
Well, I think probably rich families bribe Santa to get better presents for their kids. So
Maybe so. Um, Now, soon after that, uh, I'm trying to think chronologically. Uh, my oldest brother John had been drafted into the Navy, and he served in the Navy in San Diego. And when I was in first grade, um, came home on furlough, and he and Margie got married, and then she went back with him. And then the war ended, and they came home, and they brought me a red cowboy hat. And I was so thrilled with that cowboy hat. I just loved it. And I don't remember all what happened to that, but then sometime later, for Christmas, I got a cowboy hat. It was kind of tan. It was a more fancy cowboy hat, and boy, I did love that. But I got on my horse, I got on Bud, and I rode a couple of miles to see my friend Lucille Taylor. I'm not sure it was Christmas Day, but it might have been. But when I left, it was a sunshiny day, and by the time I got home, my ears were so cold, and I hadn't taken anything to protect my ears. I just had that cowboy hat. I was so thankful to finally get home. I had earache all my life. When I was a young kid, I used to have earache very, very often. And I should have known better than to go out riding in the winter with nothing to cover my ears. And one year, and I think it was when I was in the 6th grade, I got cowboy boots for Christmas, and oh, I was so thrilled to have them. Now this friend Renee Russell that was so good with horses, she owned cowboy boots, and she wore them to school. And oh, I thought that was so cool. I thought that was the best. And when the year that I got my cowboy boots, I wore them to school. But my foot has a high instep, and it was really hard for me to get my boots on. I couldn't fit into them very long, for which I was sad. But I did love them, and I did love my rocking horse after all.
Nice.
Do you want to end it there, or should I think of something else?
If you have something on the top of your head, go a little bit longer.
Well, my dad would in the winter he'd have to go out in the morning and harness the horses and hook them to the sleigh and go to the haystack and fork the hay off the stack onto the sleigh and then take it out in the field and fork it off onto the snow for the sheep to eat. And I loved to go with him. I'd have to bundle up real nice and warm. And the sleigh, it was a big flatbed on 2 double sled. I can't think of the word. Anyway, I could walk to the back of the of the hay rack that was on the sleds and hold on behind, and I could put my feet on the snow and hold on to the hay rack and skid along in the snow, or I could put my feet on the sled runner that was holding the hay rack and hold on to that. Once in a while we would put a rope from the hay rack and ride skis and ski behind the sled and team. I didn't do that much, but Ken was more into that. I don't think he did it much either, but one time we were at Uncle Joseph's place, and someone was on skis, a hold of a rope that was tied to the hay rack, and whoever was driving the horses, I can't remember who it was, but they started to turn. Of course, it was out in a great big wide field, so there's plenty of room. But they would turn the horses in a circle, and then the sled that was hooked to the horses, the hay rack and sled, would turn around them, and then the rope that was tied to the hay rack would be out a ways, and so that created a huge momentum for the person that was a hold of the rope skiing behind that. They'd go around and around. I don't think I did that. I think I would have fallen off. But probably Ken did.
They do that nowadays, but instead of horses and sleds and snow, they use boats and water.
Yep.
So I guess you guys were the pioneers of water skiing.
Yeah, we probably invented it, didn't we?
Okay, good story. Should we end it there? You got another one.
Let's end it there.
All right, wave goodbye to all of your posterity and all your friends and everyone you've ever known.